welcome back into another episode of the Xtra Point at WGFM.com. I'm your host, Dillard, alongside me. It's the one, it's the only. It's Brooks Childress. Brooks, how are you doing today on this Thursday, wet day here in Auburn, Alabama?
Well, it's a little wet outside, but when I walked in, it wasn't raining, so as you can see, I'm not wearing a hat, so I was able to make it in without my hair getting ruined.
Oh, Brooks, you haven't worn a hat in about 3 days.
I wore one yesterday. I wore my,
Did I see you yesterday?
I don't think so.
Okay, so maybe that's why I didn't notice you in a hat. Well, Brooks, we have a lot of exciting things going on. First, I want to preview what's going on in Auburn this weekend. So,
A lot of good things.
Auburn volleyball dropped a tough one to Missouri last night, number 24 Missouri, but this Friday, Auburn soccer.
What was, before you move on, what was that? Was it like a 3-1?
No, they got
swept. Oh.
But it doesn't, don't let that distract you from the fact that Auburn played tough first.
Well, I mean, Auburn volleyball always plays tough. They have trouble like finishing games and kind of getting over that hump and winning in conference play, but they can fight, which is the first step to getting better. But just to keep fighting.
Who's gonna fight this Friday? It's gonna be Auburn versus Minnesota. Sky Yuma in the first round of the NCAA tournament in women's soccer. Later that day, Auburn women's basketball will be playing Nichols in the first round of the preseason NIT. Auburn basketball.
Women got a big win the other night against Grambling.
It was the highest scoring game in the Coach Lowe era. Men's basketball, top 25 matchup against Washington later that night at about 8:30. Then on Saturday, Auburn football team travels to Athens for the Deep South oldest and dirtiest rivalry to take on Georgia. And then on Sunday, Auburn back at here on WGR FM. Brooks, for us, we are in the midst of our picking battle.
Yes, I gained some ground this past weekend.
You gained some ground. I was a little lackadaisical on my pick, I would say. I shouldn't have picked second. I knew better than that.
Well, I mean, you kind of had hope. Like, I will admit that I thought for a half second, like, should I pick Kentucky? And then I'm like, no, I think Georgia will probably win that.
So, it's out there, and, honestly, I don't know what the records are right now. I just know that you have
You're still in the lead, I know that.
I'm still in the lead via, I believe, 3 games.
But I gained some ground.
It's funny, I didn't put the updated graphic out there, but I have it. So I don't know why I didn't put it out there. It's there.
Well, it'll be updated when we put our new picks up.
It'll be updated. Brooks.
You'll be able to see my slow climb back to the top.
So let's start with that, Brooks. So, once again, even though you had a good week, you are still losing. Okay? And the deal is, you have one chance where you can use your comeback token, and instead of picking 10 games, we pick 20 games. You're down by 3. The season's winding down now. There's not much of a chance. Remember, a lot of the games next week are, for the most part, chalk games.
Yeah.
And then you have rivalry week.
You see, like right now, here's my thinking strategy after you've told me, since you've given me this option a few weeks ago. Here's my thinking strategy. I'm trying to claw my way back in, or claw my way back to the top. And I'm doing it slowly. And so I want to wait as long as I can. So like it could come down to the last week where I use it, because I either want to have it last resort, 20 games, come back last week, just shoot your shot from half court, try to make it, win.
I will give you the first 10 games that we were picking. And then from there, if you think, well, I want to take my shot, I'll let you.
Uh-huh.
The 10 games that we will pick today, Fresno State, Boise State, that is tonight or Friday night. It's before Saturday.
I think it's probably, let me look, I got it scheduled right here. It's tomorrow night. There's two top 25 teams playing on Friday night.
Auburn, Georgia.
Okay.
TCU, West Virginia. Ohio State, Michigan State. Wisconsin, Penn State. Washington State, Colorado. Northwestern taking on, for some reason I wrote Colorado again. Northwestern is not playing Colorado. They are playing Wisconsin.
No, Penn State's playing Wisconsin.
Lied.
Northwestern is playing Iowa.
You're right. Northwestern's playing Iowa. Texas against Texas Tech. Clemson against Boston College. And then South Carolina taking on Florida. Those are the 10 games. Now you can look at that and say, okay, I want to use the token, and I'll give you the next 10 games. But once you say I'm using it, you can't take it back. And these are, I would say these are 10 good games. There's 20 good games this week.
Yeah. This would be a decent week to use it. But I think I'm going to hold off.
You're going to hurt my feelings.
Because
I go through all this trouble to get these games together.
I'm just going to bide my time. And last week either have to use it to win and come back, or just to, last week to...
Wouldn't it make more sense if you got closer this week? That way it's more of a battle in the final week?
But you see, I want to have that, you got to have that lifeline there sitting. You don't want to pull it too early, because I'm trending back toward the top. It's I like my trends.
Sure.
I think I'm going to hold off and wait.
You're going to hold off?
Yes.
The next 10 games are Mississippi State, Alabama.
That was an easy one.
Kentucky, Tennessee.
That's probably an easy... Yeah, that's an easy one. Kentucky.
Troy, Georgia Southern.
Ooh. I haven't watched enough Fun Belt. I'd have to go Georgia Southern.
Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh.
Gosh, that's a toughie. Probably, I don't know, probably Pittsburgh on that.
Oregon, Utah.
Oh, let's go Ducks. I think Oregon's favored by 3, but I'd still think the Ducks won on the road.
Miami, Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech is favored in that game, by the way.
Yeah, I'd take Georgia Tech in that game. I don't like Miami this year.
Florida State, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame all the way.
Did you hear the recent news about Notre Dame, though?
No. What?
Ian Book is out.
Oh, no.
It is now Brandon Winbush.
I still take Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's defense can hold.
That was my trap game for you. I wasn't going to tell you that Ian Book was out.
You...
And if you would have took it, if I got to be up to date.
I literally just scrolled down.
Look, there it is, right there in front of you.
I scroll down, there's 2 tweets from Adam Rittenberg of ESPN and Phil Steele, both saying Ian Book out.
The next game would have been Temple, Houston.
I don't know. Temple would probably want to bounce back, but I like Houston, so I'd probably take the Cougars.
And South Florida, Cincinnati.
I'd take Cincinnati. South Florida, since they lost that one game, they're like, what's football?
So that would have been the 10 games that we would have picked if you would have used a token. So you're going to hold on to it. But, Brooks, we're going to start with the picks this week, okay?
All right, I like it.
I'll go first. Boise State, Fresno State. I know Fresno's ranked. However, they got to go on the road to the blue turf. Boise State, still really good Mountain West team. Fresno usually is on the up and up around this time, but they've kind of fallen off a lot in seasons past at this moment. November football is voodoo for a lot of teams. Because Boise State's at home, and I believe these teams are evenly matched, I'm going to take Boise State.
Fresno State's favored by, what, 2.5?
Yes.
Fresno State's only got 1 loss on the year. That is to Minnesota early in the season. And Fresno State probably should have won that game. I like Minnesota, row the boat, but Fresno State probably should have won that game. They're 5-0 in the Mountain West Conference. But they do go on the road to a very tough environment because they love their football in Boise. Fans turn out for those games. They got a good fan base up there. Blue Field messes with you a little bit. I'm going to go... I think Boise State also has the better quarterback, too. But...
I penciled you down for Boise State after you said that.
But... I think I'm going to go with the ranked team. I'm going to go Fresno to win this one. I think Fresno keeps the ball rolling, keeps marching toward trying to get that at-large bid to the New Year's Six.
Auburn travels to Georgia for the Deep South oldest rivalry. Auburn is a 14-point underdog. Brooks, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It's not looking good for Auburn. So give me Georgia. Too many holes for Auburn. Offense is going to have some trouble against a good Georgia defense. And Georgia's running game, Georgia's passing game, it will eventually break Auburn's tough defense. So give me Georgia.
This game, if you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said Georgia all the way. But after watching that game last weekend, and Auburn didn't play their best last weekend. They still got the win, but they didn't play their best. They beat a top 25 team. You look at the way you look at Auburn of years past. Auburn's not going to the SEC championship game. It's going to be Georgia. It's going to be Alabama. We already know this. Auburn has the chance here to play spoiler and kill Georgia's playoff chances once and for all this weekend. Even if Georgia wins the SEC championship, if it's a two-loss conference champion against a one-loss, put up Georgia, a two-loss conference champion, against a one-loss conference champion like Oklahoma or Washington State, I would take one of those two over the two-loss Georgia team. Auburn's got a chance to give them two losses this weekend and knock them out of the playoff race. I think right now, Auburn does not match up well with Georgia. Offense to defense. Georgia's defense is pretty good, run-wise. But the thing about it is A&M had a good run defense, too. They held Auburn to what? What was our rushing yard total? Like 19?
19 total yards.
19 rushing yards. But Georgia's weakness on defense this year has been their DBs and cornerbacks. Auburn kind of found their rhythm on a passing game last week with Darius Slayton and Ryan Davis. They kind of found their rhythm there last week. Now, will it translate to this week? We don't know because Auburn's kind of been week to week. I think it's a 6 o'clock kick. Everyone's got all day to prepare for it. I'm going to take Auburn for the upset in this one. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to come down to the last drive like it did this past weekend. But I'm going to take Auburn.
You're a fool. You are a fool to pick Auburn. Interesting enough, 538 says if Auburn wins out and beats Georgia and Alabama, and don't forget Liberty, Auburn has a 4% chance of making the playoffs.
Oh, 4%?
Yeah.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance.
Listen, I'm all in. I'm all in for a trip to Miami. I think that's where one of the playoff games is this year.
TCU travels to West Virginia to play Will Greer on good old country roads. TCU doesn't stand a chance. I don't even know why I put this game on here. Give me West Virginia.
West Virginia's 11.5-point favorite. That's interesting. Well,
it is interesting, and I think that's why I picked it, is because West Virginia is not as big as a favorite as I thought they would be.
Yeah, but you also have to look,
this is Big 12 country, though.
Yeah, you also have to look at the Big 12. They can score, like, each one can hit each other in the mouth and score. The most interesting thing is the over-under is only 56 for a Big 12 game. Like, that's low for a Big 12 game. I guess they're trying to take into account TCU's defense is, usually better than most Big 12 defenses. But I'm with you. I think that West Virginia is the better team. They're coming off a big win over Texas. And I'm going to take Country Roads, take me home with another W.
Ohio State's going on the road to play Michigan State. Top 20 matchup. Ohio State did not look good against Nebraska. Michigan State kind of just hanging in there. Not having a bad year for Michigan State, but they're hanging in there. I know Ohio State didn't look good against Nebraska, but here's the thing. Ohio State still scores points. That is the important thing. Ohio State still scores points. Michigan State has trouble scoring. So even on the road, give me Ohio State. If they score more than 25 points, Michigan State can't win.
Ohio State's favored by 3.5. This is another over-under I'm kind of confused about. This is a Big Ten game, and it's a over-under of 52. Like, have you watched the Big Ten? No one's put.
I mean, Purdue did put up 40-something points on Ohio State. So there is that.
It's two top 25 teams. Ohio State visiting Michigan State. You said it. Ohio State struggled heavily with a bad Nebraska team. Now, Nebraska's shown some.
Nebraska was the best 2-7 team I've seen all season.
Nebraska has shown some improvements over the last few weeks, and you could kind of see that Scott Frost is getting Nebraska off the ground a little bit. Like, all right, so we're finally playing football, Scott Frost football. But Michigan State is not Nebraska.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That is a bad thing if you're Ohio State, because Michigan State's a good football team. And after last week, I need Ohio State to show me this week that they can win convincingly, or else they're going to lose this game to Michigan State.
Well, they don't really have time to show you before Michigan State, so you're going to have to just pick.
So, for this game, I'm going to have to take...
Don't do it.
I'm rethinking myself now, because Ohio State is for picks, it's like Alabama. If you think about picking against them, they're definitely going to win. And even if you pick them, they are going to win.
You picked against Alabama this year?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I'm going. You know what? I'll go with it. I'll take Ohio State. I just think they'll show. Ohio State will probably do what they usually do. Is early in the game, they will show you, hey, we may lose this game, and then they'll come back in the second half and win it.
Wisconsin travels to Happy Valley to take on a Penn State team. Both teams not having the season that they want to. This used to be a sexy pick. It was a sexy game. But both teams kind of fallen off and haven't reached the aspirations that they wanted to. They both wanted to meet each other in the Big Ten championship. Well, that's not going to happen this year. Penn State's at home. Wisconsin's just struggled. I think Penn State can score more points than Wisconsin can put up. I think Wisconsin's just kind of, the energy's left the program a little bit. So, Penn State at home, I'll take the Lions.
Penn State 9-point favorite right now. I'll just go and say it. I'm taking Penn State. I think this offense for Penn State, if they can put up more, if they can get up by 2 scores, there's no way Wisconsin's offense can grind it out and score 2 touchdowns and come back. So, as long as Penn State gets out to a 2-touchdown lead, they're going to win this football game.
Washington State, on the hopes of making the college football playoffs, travels to Colorado. In any normal situation, I would say, why are we picking this game? But if you don't know Pac-12 football, then you don't realize that the Pac-12 just loves to beat up on itself. And Colorado is in a perfect position to just end Washington State's college football playoff hopes when they host the Cougars at 2:30 Central on ESPN. I believe Washington State's also not even favored by that much.
Washington State's favored by 6 right now.
It's not a lot for
that's less than a touchdown.
I'm going to take Washington State on the road, but I'm scared because I believe for a lot of this game, Colorado is going to be leading.
Colorado is a good team. A lot of people had them picked to, be a contender in the Pac-12 this year, but they fell off, especially around that USC game. When they got beat on the road at USC. That's kind of the tipping point where they started to slide downhill. Colorado, this game, is playing for bowl eligibility. They're 5-4, so it's not over. Their bowl chances aren't over if they lose, but they're trying to get bowl eligible this weekend. So in their minds, they're we want to go to a bowl game. We got our chance to win a football game here. Also, they've got it on the table that they can ruin the playoff chances of Washington State. Washington State on the other hand, sitting there, they've got the Pac-12's playoff chances in the palm of their hand. If they win out, they've got a real chance to make it.
But the Pac-12 usually has butterfingers when they're holding their own chances.
That's true. I think that it's going to happen again this year, that I think Washington State will lose a game this year. It's not going to be this one. I'm going to take the Cougars to beat the Buffalo.
Northwestern travels to Iowa in a game that if Northwestern wins, they are your Big Ten representative. Now, they are in a pretty good spot to where even if they lose, they have a lot of the tiebreakers over the teams that they're tied with. But this game solidifies it. And Northwestern will be your representative in the Big Ten championship game. But they got to go on the road to play Iowa. And here's the thing for Iowa. There's too much to lose for them in this game. And they're playing it at home. So give me Iowa at home against Northwestern. It doesn't seem like Iowa's the pick to go with because of what's going on with Northwestern. But when you're at home and you're playing with your back against the wall, good things happen. So give me Iowa.
Iowa's a 10.5-point favorite going into this game. Iowa is playing at home. That's a tough environment to play up there in Iowa City. Northwestern, like you said, if they win, they are the Big Ten West champions, and they're going to, I don't know where that is. It Indianapolis that's played, or Chicago?
They always play in Indianapolis.
It's going to be, they're going to Indianapolis. They'll face whoever, probably Michigan or Ohio State, whoever comes out of the East. But the interesting thing is that Northwestern right now is one game off from the Big Ten championship game, and they're still not bowl eligible. They can get bowl eligible this weekend. It's going to be really tough to play in Iowa. Iowa's got that, they're like Wisconsin. They got that pound the ball, grind it out football. I think Northwestern's going to walk in here and they're going to see, they're going to have everything in front of them. They're going to we win this game, we're going to a bowl game, one, and we're winning the Big Ten West. I think Northwestern pulls this one out. I'm going to take the Wildcats.
A bold prediction. Texas is traveling to Lubbock to take on the Red Raiders guns up of Texas Tech. In any normal situation, I would have picked Texas Tech to win this game because of their offense. However, I do not know the status of Texas Tech quarterback Alan Bowman at this moment in time. For those of you who do not know, Alan Bowman had another setback. It's the second time this season that he had a collapsed lung that he was hospitalized for. Good news is that he is out of the hospital now, and he has rejoined the team, but I do not know if he will play this Saturday. And that throws it up in the air. Now, if you're asking me, he shouldn't play, because that's just a scary thing to go through.
Yeah.
2 collapsed lungs in a season. Let's slow down a bit, okay? But because of the uncertainty around Alan Bowman, and because I know Texas lost, but they still put up a lot of points on a good West Virginia team, I'm going to take the Longhorns to get a good win against a Texas Tech team that allowed 50-plus points to Oklahoma.
Texas is a 2-point favorite. This game, I don't think was a question earlier in the season when Texas looked like they were back. Texas is not, back. They're still really good, but they're not back.
They're not back.
Texas Tech trying to get bowl eligible this weekend. Because of the question with quarterback, I'm going to take the Longhorns, because even if Alex Bowman plays... Allen, sorry. I was thinking about the NASCAR driver.
Put some respect on his name.
Alan Bowen. If he plays, I think Texas still has an advantage because he's not going to be playing at full strength. So I'll take the Longhorns.
Clemson on the road to Boston College. It is where College Game Day will be at. I'm not sure the last time College Game Day was in Boston College. Honestly, don't know why we're picking this game. Clemson all day.
Clemson's favored by 20. That's the biggest line we've picked this week. They're favored by 20. Boston College.
Brooks, I'm just going to go ahead and pencil you down for Clemson.
Boston College, you've played good this year. You're a good team. Have fun in whatever bowl game you're going to. Clemson, Clemson's winning this game.
If Boston College wins this game, according to 538, their playoff chances dramatically increase.
I mean, this is the only real test they have. Maybe South Carolina later
I mean,
this
yes,
year.
but also, do you know what that means for Boston College?
What is that?
How many losses do they have in the ACC?
2.
Ooh.
If they lose this game, they'll have 2.
If they win, they have
Just 1 loss in the ACC.
and they have tiebreaker against.
Clemson,
And guess what that means where Boston College is going?
ACC championship game.
It does. But this game has a lot riding on it without it seeming that it's not.
Clemson's going to win this game. Clemson is the Alabama of the ACC. They're just going to keep winning.
And last game, South Carolina. A tricky South Carolina team that put up a lot of points on Ole Miss on the road. Going to the Swamp to take on Florida, who let Missouri put up a lot of points on them. Florida, if it wasn't for that Missouri game, this would not be a hard one to pick. But Florida looks off. South Carolina scored points, and this one is actually a trick game. Because that 6-point line for Florida, that's not right. That shouldn't be right.
Should it be higher or lower?
Should be lower.
Okay.
Honestly, it should be at like 2 points. It should pretty much be a push. But, with all that being said, I think Florida's going to bounce back. South Carolina has a tough time staying consistent on offense. And granted, it was against an Ole Miss defense that pretty much puts 10 wooden sticks on the field. So, give me the Gators at home.
South Carolina's playing in this game to get to a bowl game this year. Florida looked really disappointing last week when they played Missouri. Florida's got to step up this week if they want to get one of those upper SEC bowl games, one of the New Year's Day bowl games. You know what? I think South Carolina's got the better offense right now. I don't like where Florida is. I'm going to take the Gamecocks. I'm going to take the upset.
So, Brooks, we differ on, I believe, 4 games.
So I'm going for the lead this week.
You're going for the lead. Fresno, you picked Fresno, you picked Auburn. You fool. You picked Northwestern, and you picked South Carolina. And I picked the opposite.
We're going to see.
Now, Brooks, there's a chance that you're now down 8 games at that point.
I'm aware.
You're aware of this?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's no going back now. But just know, look, honestly, you already lost 1 game, and it's the Auburn game. If we're going to be honest, you already lost the Auburn game. That's just me. That's just me saying that.
That's your opinion.
My opinion, you're right. The other games are up for grabs. But out of the 4 games, you picked the game with the biggest spread. You picked the game with the biggest line. You know, out of the 4 games, that's the biggest one. That's Auburn's a super dog in that scenario. Okay, you got to overcome a lot.
I like super dogs. I'm basically, college game day.
So, Brooks, what we're gonna do is we're gonna head to a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, let's detail what's going on with Auburn basketball. Preview that Washington game, okay? And then we'll see if we can get to some NFL, some NBA, some of that action, okay? You're listening to the Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM or online at WEGLFM.com.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary.
Hi, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be tornado next Thursday?
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So.
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
Welcome back to the studio here on the Xtra Point on WEGL 91.1 FM or online at WEGLFM.com. And hoping you can see us on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6, and EagleEyeAuburn.com. I had some technical difficulties, but hopefully we figure those out.
I have faith.
We have faith. Catch us at EagleEyeAuburn.com. Public access, I believe, on Channel 6, on campus, and in the city of Auburn. Now, folks, let's talk some Auburn basketball. Auburn got a big win over South Alabama, 101-58.
My brother's school, Blaine. No offense, we beat y'all pretty good.
I mean, Auburn opened up the scoring bonanza with a 32-7 run, and once I saw that, I was like, it was nice knowing you. At least you got paid.
Do college basketball teams get paid?
Like, if a small team comes to play them?
Yeah. I assume. Because, like, they're kind of, like, basketball.
I assume for every game, the away team gets some kind of stipend, a percentage of ticket sales.
I was about to say, because basketball, you're kind of more on an even scale. Even if you're even if it's like South Alabama versus Auburn, like there's still a chance South Alabama wins that game.
It doesn't make sense if you go and play a game and you don't reap some sort of benefits, even if it's minuscule. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm sure they got some money from ticket sales because I did see maybe a handful of South fans here.
Yeah. So you tell me that your fans can go and watch you, but you don't get that money, or some sort of money, or some sort of compensation? You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure they get ticket sale money. I just don't know if it's like
if it's SEC games, I don't know. But out of conference games that these teams schedule, I got to feel like there's some sort of like.
I still think like conference game you get ticket sales because you have your own.
Like the SEC. I don't know how the SEC does it, but there's a whole thing how they share ticket revenue and TV revenue and all that, and that's a discussion for another day. Alabama shot the lights out. Auburn shot the lights out against South Alabama. And put them away pretty early. And, Brooke, you were there at the game. What did you see from Auburn basketball that you liked? And then what you didn't like? Let's start with that.
I'll go with what I didn't like to start with, because there was a lot that I liked. There's a shorter list of what I didn't like. One, I'm going to call out the fan base a little bit. Auburn's number 11 in the nation.
These are facts.
Highest ranking Auburn that I can remember.
It's probably the 90s the last time Auburn's
highest ranking preseason Auburn team I can remember. Game 1. Now, I'll give them credit. It's a Tuesday night, and it was a late start. It was an 8 o'clock start.
It wasn't the best of time slots.
But it's still, you're number 11, game 1 of the year. There was a lot of empty seats in the general seat. The students showed up. The students packed out.
The students are the problem.
The students are not the problem.
Everybody else.
The rest of the fan base, there was a lot of empty seats. And
I did hear that.
I was disappointed because you look at this Auburn team, and one, it was like the game was supposed to be a sellout. Like they sold all the tickets, but they didn't show up. And
yeah, I believe they sold all the tickets. It's just people didn't show up.
If you're going to buy the tickets, show up. If not, sell them out. Sell them again. Like there's a lot of people that want to come see this Auburn basketball team. Even though it was just South Alabama, and they did beat them by almost 50 points.
Now, I'm going to assume the same thing will happen against Washington.
I don't think the same thing will, mainly because it's another top 25 team.
Sure.
That's going to get fans in as a top 25 team because they'll want to come in and see. But then you get, other teams down the road like St. Peter's and all these other...
Yeah, you got to show up for these out of conference small games. You know, Auburn when they play St. Peter's, when they play. Do we have Dayton here this year?
I think so.
I believe so. And Dayton's one of those teams where I know Dayton's not like top 25, yeah, rah. But it's also Dayton, who is usually a tournament team. Auburn does have Dayton.
They do play Dayton at home on the 8th.
You know, so, you know, those are games you got to show up for, right?
And if your fan base, you're like, oh, well, we're number 11. You know, we're going to be good all year. We're supposed to get to a tournament. You don't know that. Auburn, they could, you know, the basketball team could trip, stumble, fall, and not, you know, do anything this year. It's not likely because it's a really talented team, but you never know what's going to happen. So you need to come support your team. You bought the tickets, go to the game. If not, sell them.
What did you like about the game, though?
Well, one other thing I didn't like.
Okay, don't let me stop you now.
This is what this is a like and slash dislike, so it's kind of a transition into my likes. There was a lot of fancy passing. Beneath defenders' legs, behind the back, there was a lot of fancy passing.
Okay.
A lot of passes that made you go, oh my. Like, oh. But they didn't finish them. So, like, you have a chance to, you know, do something special and get, you know, the crowd hyped. You can, like, it's one of those passes where you audibly hear everyone go, oh, ooh. And then they miss the shot. You got to finish those. If you're gonna dazzle us, if you're gonna tease us, you got to finish.
I understand that.
Now I love the passing. Like it was the pass where you go ooh, but you still got to finish them. So now what I did like. This team's got depth. They played a lot of people, and that maybe just been, you know, the caliber of your opponent. South Alabama is probably going to be a 500 team this year.
I mean, even if you still have you have one starter, one perennial starter, and/or bench player, in Danjo Purefoy, who, you know, Austin Wiley. We don't know what's going on with Austin Wiley. We do know that he's on his way back.
Hopefully he'll be back Friday night.
There is a chance he plays against Washington. What to look out for? Coach Bruce Pearl is having a press conference today at 11 o'clock Central Time. So by the time this is up, it's already happened. Hopefully we'll know if Austin Wiley is playing on Friday or not. Danjo Purefoy will not be back until the UAB game. So you go ahead and push that out for right now. Middle of December, you'll see Danjo Purefoy. But Austin Wiley...
It's a 8-game suspension?
9.
So, yeah, depending on how far we go into that Maui Invitational.
Yeah, and that's also a very interesting point. How many games is Auburn playing Maui shortens up when he can come back. He could be back for St. Peter's.
I don't think that's going to be that soon.
If Auburn gets past Xavier, excuse me, not St. Peter's, he could be back for Dayton if Auburn can get past Xavier, beat what most likely will be Duke, and then win Maui. If Auburn beats Duke, I feel like they can win Maui at that point.
If Auburn beats Duke, Auburn can win a national championship because after you saw that performance the other night. Anyway, depth. I like the depth. Like I said, it may have just been the caliber of the opponent. That's why we played a lot of people. But they rotated in and out early in the game, so it leads me to believe that this is going to be a norm, and there's a lot of depth there.
A lot of depth and a lot of freshness.
One of the best things was first play of the game. Auburn gets a tip, lob, Jared Harper and for McLemore. Get it going. That's how you start a season, is a lob, throw it down, get the fan base going. Auburn, they're going to be able to shoot lights out this year. It's just going to depend on, are they hot or cold at the time? Because you saw both the other night with Bryce Brown. Bryce Brown at the start of the game was on fire. He was knocking them down. And then around the start of the second half, he kind of got cool and he started missing them again. So Bryce Brown is still the same streaky, like he's going to hit everything or he's going to miss everything.
I think the big thing for Auburn is that Look, nobody's a fool. We know what losing Mustafa. Can you imagine what Auburn would be if Mustafa Heron was still here? It would be very crowded at that point.
Oh yeah,
it'd be very crowded, and I like that, and I also don't like that. You know what I'm saying? But Mustafa was good for Auburn.
Yeah,
he was one of the reasons why Auburn got to where they're at, and I understand why he left, and I totally respect it. And go do your thing at St. John's, and hopefully your mother does okay. Hopefully you can be with her for a lot of those weekends, and you can hold on to her.
Hopefully you can make the NBA.
Yeah, make her proud, which I'm sure he's already done that. Chuma Okeke, ironically, is wearing number 5, and he put up 20 points against. And he put up 20 points against South Alabama.
Chuma Okeke came out and he showed out on Tuesday night. He came into that arena and it was unreal.
I'm not saying that we were looking for a replacement for Mustafa Heron, but it kind of looks like we found a literal replacement for Mustafa Heron.
Chuma looked really good the other night. He looked really good. I don't know if he's necessarily going to, full-on replace Mustafa, because Mustafa was a very special player.
I mean, Mustafa averaged 16 points a game. If Chuma can get around that, he's done his job.
But he's going to, if he keeps playing like this, it's going to be really good. He's going to have a really good year, and it's going to be really good.
I mean, and the two Auburn players who probably have the best chances of making the NBA are Austin Wiley and Chuma Okeke. They're going to show out.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun to watch those two this year, especially they're trying to get to the NBA. One other thing that I noticed the other night is if you're going to beat this Auburn team, you're going to beat them from beyond the arc, because Auburn had 8 blocks in that game the other night. Every time South tried to drive in and score, in the paint, there was a big man there. Anthony McLemore, Horace Spencer, and once you get Austin Wiley back, he's going to be roaming around down there in the paint. You're not going to be able, with those guys, if you're going to beat this Auburn team, you got to shoot from the arc. You got to shoot from beyond the arc, and that's how South Alabama scored majority of their points was threes. So that's how you're going to have to beat this team. You're not driving in on them.
I think the big thing for Auburn, you're right about Anthony McLemore. Dude knows how to block. He knows how to use his big body. He led the SEC in blocks before his injury. And he led the SEC by a lot before his injury last year. And he's back. And Horace Spencer, granted, he doesn't have to be the offensive weapon, but he plays good defense.
Oh, yeah.
And Austin Wiley just stand there, and he's playing good defense already. It's going to be a very good defensive Auburn team. It's the offense that can probably give Auburn trouble, especially if they're hot and cold, like they did against that stretch against South Carolina and Arkansas at the end.
I will say, though, once in the game this past weekend when Bryce Brown went cold from beyond the arc, Malik Dunbar stepped up. Malik Dunbar had a great game the other night. He came off the bench. He had a great game. And he was
16 points.
He was able to pick up the slack, and he was able to score from all over. So that gives you hope that with this Auburn team, when someone goes cold, someone else is going to step up and take their place and keep scoring.
I think that's one of the bigger things for Auburn is that it's no longer Mustafa, Jared Harper, Bryce Brown. If one of those guys goes cold, you got 2 guys who try to do too much.
Yeah.
It's Chuma. Is Jared Harper still there? Bryce Brown, Malik Dunbar. Okay, Austin Wiley's roaming around up there. Anthony McLemore, he didn't hit a 3 last game, but he's a 3-point shooter, in my mind. He can block.
Anthony McLemore's a good all-around player.
I think I already said his name, but Austin Wiley is going to be out there at some point.
Yeah.
Always excited to see Dangel Purifoy. And then we didn't even talk about him. Samir Dowdy. He's out there doing his thing.
He had a slow start, but once he got going, he looked good.
There are so many weapons for Auburn. This is the deepest Auburn team that we've seen. Bruce Pearl has done a great job of building this team. And the first test is against Washington. Is Auburn going to show up? Well, we'll find out on Friday.
8:30.
8:30 Central Time.
SEC Network.
At big channel. You flip through, you'll find it. Because that's Auburn now. If you want to see Auburn basketball, flip through the channels. You may find them now. You ain't got to go to no stream no more.
Little appetizer before the college football Saturday.
For a big college football Saturday, Brooks and I differ on 4 picks. We'll see if Brooks can climb back into a lead in college pick'em. I don't think so. I think I'll actually extend my lead this week. And Brooks is going to be in a hole. But with that being said, Brooks, that's going to do it for the show today. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, you can catch us on SoundCloud and on iTunes by searching WGL 91.1 FM. Remember, Extra Point, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 o'clock. We go live on SoundCloud and on iTunes. And then for the TV side on Eagle Eye TV Channel 6, EagleEyeAuburn.com, Eagle Eye TV's YouTube page by searching Eagle Eye TV, and Eagle Eye TV Channel 6 on campus, and hopefully by now, in public access on Channel 6. We'll get that verified in a second.
Hopefully.
And hopefully this overall equipment is working. May have to do some repairs on it. You can catch us at 2 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays, an hour after the podcast goes out. For Brooks Childress, I'm Jared Dillard saying so long for another week here on the Extra Point. And hopefully, Auburn just puts up a good game.
Auburn's going to win. I'm calling it right now.
You're calling it, but I believe that I will take a lead, a bigger lead, in the pick 'em. So long and have a good weekend.